In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day.
How could God have light on day 1 of creation and the sun not made till day 4 of creation? I'm Eric Hovind with questions at creationtoday.org. Brian from Denver, Colorado wrote in with this question. He asks, please help me understand how the earth had light before we hear about the sun and the moon coming into existence. How is that possible? By the way, love your ministry, keep it up. Well, Brian, thank you very much. And after I give you this answer, I want to know, for those of you watching, if you agree or disagree with me, but please hear me out and listen to my answer before you make your decision, okay? At first glance, this seems to be a contradiction.
The breath of the Creator fluttered against the face of the void, whispering, "Let there be light." And light was.
How can you have a day without the sun? Well, it's very easy. All you need is light. All you need is light and the earth rotating within the light. You can have light without a source. You can have light without a source even today, because light is a waveform. You can picture it as something that's waving, it's going up and down. There's an electromagnetic field. Now, electromagnetic field is like a sort of force, an electromagnetic force there, and you can make it wave a little bit as if you had a pile of springs. You can make them wave up and down. You can set them going so they're bouncing up and down. Now, once you've set them going, they will carry on going. Of course, today they will eventually be dampened down. But you know that people measure the speed of light by shining light to the moon. And they shine the light, a laser light, a very concentrated light, at the moon, and they bounce it off a mirror that was left there by the Apollo astronauts. And it's reflected back off that mirror back to the Earth. So it's going there and it's coming back. Now, it takes 1.5 seconds for the light to get there and back again. They do not leave the laser on for 1.5 seconds. They can turn it on and turn it off 1/10 of a second later. When the laser's gone off, does that mean that the light disappears? No, it doesn't. The light still exists. That waveform is still going, but the source of light is no longer there. Now, obviously, today we needed the source of light to start it. But when God made the world, he didn't need the source of light, because God can make anything. So God could easily make the light waves without the source. He didn't need both. And therefore, it's a false problem. The Christian leaders who say that you've got to have the sun there to make light are creating a false problem. All you need is light traveling in a direction and the earth rotating on its axis once every 24 hours. And you've got days even before you've got the sun. Now, I know we need the sun today, but God hadn't finished what he was doing on day 1. He'd only just started it. Why God chose to take 6 days over it, I don't fully know, except, of course, that it set the pattern of the week for us. So obviously he was doing it for our benefit.
In order to see a contradiction, you would have to assume that either day 1 implies the creation of sunlight, and therefore the sun already existed for 3 days before it was created on day 4, or you have to assume that no light could exist without the sun that was made on day 4. And so one of the days of creation in Genesis can't mean what it says. However, these apparent contradictions require you to read things into the text that aren't actually in the text. Day 1 does not say the light comes from the sun. It doesn't call it sunlight. It merely says God made light. And we can reasonably infer that the light was placed on one side of the earth and not the other because there was a separation of day and night. A localized light source doesn't require the sun. Light is a photon, and it exists independently of the sun. You probably have something in every room of your house or on a device that you've got that can produce light without being a sun. Similarly, on day 4, we are not told that the earth received its first light or its first daylight. We are told that God made the greater light to govern the day, meaning that He made the sun and gave it a purpose. Whatever source of light there was, even if it was a physical source of light, was replaced by the sun. So, what was the source of light on day 1 of creation? We don't know. The text doesn't tell us. We know it was not the sun, okay? Because that was made on day number 4 of creation, and there is clearly no problem with light existing before the sun existed because we have ways to make light without the sun right now. Now, there might not have been a physical source of light. After all, where did the sun come from? I mean, where did the heavens and the earth come from? God called them into being from nothing, and they were. It makes little sense to say that God could call the heavens and the earth into being and make time, space, matter, and energy, and a watery earth all from nothing. But then say, well, God couldn't figure out how to make light without the sun when we can do it with the light bulb. If we can figure it out, I'm pretty sure God could figure that out too. Or maybe He made light without some physical source, just as He had done with time, space, matter, and energy.